hit like a thunderclap through elite circles. The kind of news that makes people stop mid-sentence and whisper instead of speak. Just when everyone thought the Sussex chaos had peaked, something far darker surfaced. Jessica Mulroney, once Meghan Markle's closest confidant, her gatekeeper, her fixer, watched her 16-year marriage collapse in silence. And the reason being whispered behind closed doors is chilling. Private messages. Conversations never meant to be seen. Communications that arrived at exactly the wrong moment and shattered everything she thought she knew about her life weeks before the news broke. People noticed small things. Jessica wasn't wearing her wedding ring. Her smile looked practiced. Then came the confirmation, dropped quietly at a lavish Toronto wedding overflowing with power. Drake there, LeBron James there. The kind of room where reputations are currency. That's where Jessica finally admitted it. Her marriage to Ben Mulroney was over. Finished. 16 years reduced to ashes. And this wasn't just any marriage. Ben Mulroney isn't some random TV host. He's the son of former Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. This wasn't just a breakup, it was the cracking of a dynasty. A family that lived at the very top of Canadian society. Political royalty. Media royalty. Untouchable. Or so everyone thought. Then the whispers began. Insiders say Jessica didn't simply grow apart from her husband. She discovered messages. Penetrating conversations was the phrase being used. Loaded. Careful. Devastating. The kind of wording people use when the truth is too explosive to say out loud. And here's where it stops being just a marriage story. Because those communications allegedly tie back to someone Jessica once trusted more than anyone else. Meghan Markle. Jessica wasn't just Meghan's friend. She was her shield, her secret keeper. The woman who helped hide Meghan's early relationship with Prince Harry. The stylist behind the engagement photos. The insider who knew how to maneuver power quietly. Her children walked down the aisle at Windsor Castle. Page boys. Bridesmaid. That's not casual friendship, that's inner circle access. When sources say Jessica seems sad but relieved, that word relieved tells you everything. Relief doesn't come from divorce alone. Relief comes from clarity. From finally understanding something you've been gaslighting yourself about for years. And insiders say she's been sitting with this truth privately for a long time, letting it burn before letting it surface. To understand how devastating this is, you have to understand what Jessica built. She and Ben were Toronto's golden couple. 3 children, charity galas, connections everywhere. And Meghan's arrival only elevated them further. Suddenly, they weren't just elite, they were globally relevant, royal adjacent. But the spotlight that lifted them also exposed cracks no one wanted to see. Go back to 2011. Meghan Markle arrives in Toronto as a mid-level actress on Suits. Ambitious, hungry, looking for doors to open. Enter Jessica. Their bond ignites fast and intense. Brunches, workouts, secrets. Jessica called Meghan her soulmate. But this wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. Through Jessica, Meghan accessed power, media, political influence. Doors that don't open unless someone already inside turns the handle for you. When Meghan began secretly dating Prince Harry, Jessica orchestrated the cover. She understood discretion, she protected the romance, styled the engagement, managed the image. She poured herself into Meghan's transformation into royalty. And then the wedding, the peak. Jessica's children starring in the ceremony. Ivy carrying the train. Jessica acting as an unofficial maid of honor. But people noticed something uncomfortable. The giving flowed one way. Jessica gave, Meghan took. And when warnings came, Jessica ignored them. Loyalty blinded her. Then came 2020, the year everything collapsed. The world was burning, Black Lives Matter, social reckoning, and Jessica was exposed publicly after influencer Sasha Exeter accused her of threatening behavior. Brands fled overnight, ABC dropped her, Tiffy canceled her show, Hudson's Bay cut ties, Cityline erased her. Within days, her career was gone. Toxic, untouchable. Then resigned from E-Talk, claiming solidarity. But behind the scenes, the Mulroney family was furious. Their name was being dragged, their legacy threatened, and Jessica issued a public apology, one that referenced my closest friend and race being front and center. Everyone knew who she meant, but where was Meghan? Silent. No defense, no statement, no loyalty returned, just disappearance. The woman Jessica protected vanished as if she never existed. And that abandonment cut deeper than the public shaming ever could. Jessica spiraled. Depression, depression, medication, therapy, no job, no allies, and Meghan moved on. New friends, new shows, new image. When Meghan returned to Instagram, Jessica was gone. Netflix series, gone. Inner circle, replaced. This wasn't accidental. This was erasure. Jessica had been downgraded from soulmate to liability. And that's when things started clicking into place. Because while Jessica was losing everything, she was also discovering things. Messages, patterns, evidence, years of communications that reframed her entire reality. Insiders say she began collecting insurance. That word keeps coming up. Insurance means receipts, logs, witnesses, protection. And the Mulroney family, they iced her out, closed ranks, protected the name. But Jessica had hit her breaking point. She had defended Meghan, lost her career, lost her marriage, and got nothing in return. The woman who kept secrets now had no reason to keep quiet. At the same time, the Sussex machine was imploding. 11 publicists gone in 5 years. Let that sink in. 11. The latest resignation came after the Kardashian birthday fiasco. Photos demanded removed, tension behind the scenes, another professional fleeing. Journalists started saying the quiet part out loud. Impossible to work for. Dictator in high heels. Psycho moments. Not isolated claims, a pattern. And then December brought another bombshell. Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, had his leg amputated. Emergency surgery, life or death. EQ. His plea was heartbreaking. He just wanted to see his daughter. Meet Harry, meet his grandchildren. He kept the same phone number so she could always reach him. She didn't. Instead, a letter delivered through lawyers, filmed, clinical, no visit, no call. Holidays in Montecito took priority over a father learning to walk again. And suddenly the parallels became impossible to ignore. Jessica, Thomas, staff, friends, all erased when inconvenient. Relationships treated like transactions, loyalty rewarded with silence. Once you stop serving the image, you're gone. Now Jessica stands at a crossroads, divorce finalized, career burned, nothing left to lose. Insiders say she has everything. The messages, the timeline, the truth from the inside. And publishing whispers are growing louder because the most dangerous person in any scandal is the one who stayed silent for too long. And if Jessica Mulroney decides to stop protecting secrets that were never protected for her, this story won't just damage Meghan Markle, it could detonate the entire carefully curated narrative. This isn't over, it's just beginning. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone in those circles is thinking. Jessica Mulroney didn't just lose a marriage. She lost the illusion that loyalty protects you in a world built on optics. Once that illusion shattered, everything she had buried emotionally began clawing its way back to the surface. People close to her say the anger didn't come immediately. First came shock, then humiliation, then the slow, poisonous realization that she had been the one absorbing all the damage while others walked away untouched. She had defended, covered, styled, protected, and absorbed backlash meant for someone else. And when it was finally her turn to need protection, she was left completely alone. That's when the re-evaluation began, quietly, methodically. Conversations replayed in her mind. Messages reread with fresh eyes. Moments that once felt like intimacy now felt like manipulation. Compliments began to look like control. Requests looked like pressure. And favors looked like transactions she never consented to. Friends say Jessica started asking questions she had never dared to ask before. Why was she always the fixer? Why was she always expected to absorb the mess? Why did support only flow in one direction? And most haunting of all, how much of her life had been built around someone else's ascent? The marriage strain intensified as these realizations deepened. Ben, raised inside a political dynasty that prioritizes image above all else, was never going to tolerate scandal exposure for long. The Mulroney name is protected at any cost. Silence is survival in that world. And Jessica, by virtue of what she knew and what she might reveal, became a risk. That's when insiders say the emotional distance hardened into something colder. Conversations became strategic. Lawyers entered discussions that once belonged to spouses. Trust evaporated. And when Jessica uncovered those private communications, the ones described so carefully as penetrating, it confirmed what her instincts had been screaming. She hadn't just been used socially, she had been positioned, managed, moved like a chess piece. And once that realization lands, there's no unseeing it. Meanwhile, the Sussex operation continued hemorrhaging people at a rate that would end any normal brand. Publicists arrived optimistic and left drained. Each departure was followed by the same script, glowing statements, polite thank yous, vague references to new opportunities, but behind the scenes, the stories were anything but polite. Professionals whispered about emotional volatility, about unpredictability, about environments where fear replaced collaboration, where loyalty was demanded but never reciprocated, where dissent was punished and praise was expected on demand. And Jessica, watching all of this from the outside, began to recognize something deeply unsettling. Her experience wasn't unique. It was part of a pattern. She wasn't the exception. She was the prototype, the discarded best friend, the erased confidante, the one who knew too much and stayed quiet too long. And now, with her marriage dissolved and her social capital already destroyed, the question isn't why she might speak, it's why she wouldn't. People assume silence is loyalty, sometimes it's just survival. But survival changes when there's nothing left to protect. Insiders say Jessica has been approached quietly, publishing interest, long-form interviews, controlled environments where her voice could finally be heard without distortion. Not tabloid chaos, something measured, something devastating precisely because it's calm. And make no mistake, she understands the power of timing. She spent years operating in elite circles where timing is everything. Release too early and you look bitter. Release too late and the story moves on without you. The moment has to be right. And right now, the Sussex brand is wobbling. Royal reconciliation talks are fragile. Trust with the palace is threadbare. Every leak damages credibility further. Staff reductions at Arkewell don't scream growth. They scream contraction, cost cutting, retrenchment. Harry looks increasingly isolated. Meghan increasingly defensive. The fairy tale language sounds rehearsed now, forced, like a script that's been revised too many times. And then there's Thomas Markle, the most haunting mirror of all, a father left behind, ill, amputated, still hoping, still waiting, still expressing love where none is returned. The optics are brutal, not because of the medical crisis alone, but because of the emotional coldness surrounding it. People forgive estrangement. They don't forgive indifference. The same indifference Jessica felt when her world burned. The same silence when she needed help. And here's the uncomfortable truth the Sussex narrative can't outrun forever. Patterns don't lie. 1, broken relationship can be explained. 2, can be rationalized. But when the trail of discarded people stretches across families, staff, friends, and allies, the common denominator becomes impossible to ignore. Jessica Mulroney knows where the bodies are buried, not metaphorically, but reputationally. She knows how decisions were made, how narratives were crafted, how truths were bent just enough to survive scrutiny. She knows what was said privately versus what was presented publicly. And the most dangerous thing about someone like Jessica isn't revenge, it's clarity. Clarity strips away excuses. It removes emotional fog. It allows facts to stand on their own without needing exaggeration. And when facts come from someone who once stood at the center of the storm, they land differently. People are already bracing. You can feel it in how conversations shift, how journalists hedge, how former allies stay conspicuously quiet. Silence right now isn't loyalty, it's anticipation. Because if Jessica decides to talk, she won't need theatrics. She won't need to scream. The story tells itself when it comes from someone who gave everything and received nothing in return. This isn't about jealousy, or bitterness, or falling out. It's about what happens when the wrong person finally stops protecting someone who never protected them back. And when that happens, the collapse isn't loud, it's surgical. And somewhere behind closed doors, people who once assumed Jessica would stay silent forever are starting to realize just how badly they miscalculated. They miscalculated. They miscalculated. They miscalculated.